Okay.
Okay. Yep. There we go.
Yep. So we're live, right?
We're good. Yep.
Okay. So let me once again make Katrina the host. Hold on. And has someone made a reading list?
I knew you were going to ask, so I had a response prepared. We don't actually for this one do a reading list. Remember, we just try and apportion
Oh,
parts
that's right.
informally. Yeah.
You're going to parcel out the parts.
Right. Right. Otherwise, I would have
Okay.
put one together. Yeah.
Okay. So I think that we're moving on to scene two. Is that correct?
So what we had done was, if you recall, we saw the first scene where Antonio is having experienced a bit of melancholy, and you can't explain why. You know, people think it's because he's got all these ships out and he's nervous
Right.
about them, but he claims no. Um, which I think is interesting. I mean, it'd be interesting to have a psychologist look at this because, I mean, sometimes you just feel down and there's no reason for it, right? I think we've probably all experienced that, not chronically, I hope. And then the next scene, we go to Belmont where we're dealing with Portia and we look at the conditions of her father's will, mixed feelings
Mhm.
about that, and the unsuitability of the suitors. And then we move to scene three, which we said we were going to read again, which was where Bassanio and Antonio approach Shylock for a loan with
Right.
interest.
Okay. That's great. Dave, thank you very much for helping us
Done,
stay
Dave.
on target here.
Yeah,
All
thank
right.
you.
So are we just going to go directly into a discussion of that?
We'll read
Then
scene
what-
3 again. Where we
I
That
wouldn't
would make
mind
more sense.
rereading it, actually. Sorry, Donna. Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm saying
think-
I agree with Katrina. I think that makes sense that we
I agree.
read it again so we refresh ourselves before
Sure,
a discussion.
Very good. What a team. Okay. So we need to divide up the parts. Who will assign parts in this case?
Okay, so it's Shylock, Bassanio, and Antonio.
Okay.
And I can't remember who read them last time. I could certainly take Shylock.
Okay.
I could lead off with that. Would anybody care to take Antonio or Bassanio?
Yeah, I'll take Bassanio. So
That leaves Antonio. I'll take Antonio.
Okay, sounds good. Right. Okay.
All right. So we're going to reread Act One, Scene Three in its entirety, and then we're going to go back and discuss it.
Okay.
Good. On we go.
3,000 ducats. Well,
So,
Aye, sir.
hmm.
I, sir, for 3 months,
for 3 months. Well,
for the which, as I told you, Antonio shall be bound.
Antonio shall become bound. Well,
May you steed me. Will you pleasure me? Shall I know your answer?
3,000 ducats for 3 months, and Antonio bound.
Your answer to that?
Antonio's a good man.
Have you heard any imputation to the contrary?
Oh, no, 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 no. My meaning in saying he's a good man is to have you understand me that he is sufficient, yet his means are in supposition. He hath an argosy bound to Tripolis, another to the Indies. I understand, moreover, upon the Rialto. He hath a third at Mexico, a fourth for England, and other ventures he hath squandered abroad. But ships are but boards, sailors but men. There be land rats, water thieves, and land thieves. I mean pirates. And then there's the peril of the waters, winds, and rocks. The man is notwithstanding sufficient. 3,000 ducats. I think I may take his bond.
Be assured you may.
I will be assured I may. and that I may be assured I will bethink me. May I speak with Antonio?
If it please you to dine with us,
Yes, to smell pork, to eat of the habitation which your prophet the Nazarite conjured the devil into. I will buy with you, sell with you, talk with you, walk with you, and so following. But I will not eat with you, drink with you, nor pray with you. What news on the Rialto? Who is he comes here?
this is Senor Antonio.
How like a fawning publican he looks. I hate him for he's a Christian, but more for that in low simplicity he lends out money gratis and brings down the rate of usance here with us in Venice. If I can catch him once upon the hip, I will feed fat the ancient grudge I bear him. He hates our sacred nation, and he rails, even there where merchants do most congregate, on me, my bargains, and my well-worn thrift, which he calls interest. Cursed be my tribe if I forgive him.
Shylock, do you hear?
I'm debating of my present store, and by the near guess of my memory, cannot instantly raise up the gross of a full 3,000 ducats. What of that? Tubal, a wealthy Hebrew of my tribe, will furnish me. But soft, how many months do you desire? Rest you fair, good signor. Your worship was the last man in our mouths.
Shylock, albeit I neither lend nor borrow, by taking nor by giving of excess, yet to supply the ripe wants of my friend, I'll break the custom. To Bassanio, is he yet possessed? How much ye would?
Aye, 3,000 ducats.
And for 3 months?
I had forgot. 3 months. You told me so. Well, then your bond, and let me see. But hear you, me thoughts, you said, you neither lend nor borrow upon advantage.
I do never use it.
When Jacob grazed his uncle Laban's sheep, this Jacob from our holy Abram was, as his wise mother wrought in his behalf, the third possessor. Aye, he was the third.
And what of him? Did he take interest?
No, not take interest. Not as you would say, directly interest. Mark what Jacob did. When Laban and himself were compromised, that all the eanlings which were streaked and pied should fall as Jacob's hire, the ewes being rank, in the end of autumn turned to the rams, and when the works of generation was between these woolly breeders in the act, the skilful shepherd pilled me certain wands, and in doing of the deed of kind, he stuck them before the fulsome ewes, who then conceiving did in eaning time fall partly colored lambs, and those were Jacob's. This was a way to thrive, and he was blessed, and thrift is blessing if men steal it not.
This was a venture, sir, that Jacob served for, a thing not in his power to bring to pass, but swayed and fashioned by the hand of heaven. Was this inserted to make interest good, or is your gold and silver ewes and rams?
I cannot tell. I make it breed as fast, but note me, signor.
Mark you this, Bassanio. The devil can cite scripture for his purpose. An evil soul producing holy witness is like a villain with a smiling cheek, a goodly apple rotten at the heart. Oh, what a goodly outside falsehood hath.
3,000 ducats, 'tis a good round sum. 3 months from 12, then let me see the rate.
Well, Shylock, shall we be beholden to you?
Signor Antonio, many a time and oft in the Rialto you have rated me about my moneys and my usances. Still I've borne it with a patient shrug, for sufferance is the badge of all our tribe. You call me misbeliever, cutthroat dog. You spet upon my Jewish gabardine, and all for use of that which is mine own. Well then, it now appears you need my help. Go then, you come to me and you say, Shylock, we have no money. Shylock, we would have monies. You say so. You that did void your room upon my beard, and foot me as you spurn a stranger cur over your threshold. Money is your suit. What should I say to you? Should I not say, hath a dog money? Is it possible a cur can lend 3,000 ducats? Or shall I bend low and in a bondsman's key with bated breath and whispering humbleness say this: Fair sir, you spat upon me on Wednesday last. You spurned me such and such a day, another time. You called me dog, and for these courtesies I'll lend you thus much moneys?
I am as like to call ye so again, to spat on thee again, to spurn thee too. If thou wilt lend this money, lend it not as to friends, for when did friendship take a breed for barren metal of his friend? But lend it rather to thine enemy, who if he break, thou mayest with better face exact the penalty.
Why, look how you storm. I would be friends with you and have your love. Forget the shames that you've stained me with. Supply your present wants and take no draught of usance for my moneys. And you'll not hear me. This is kind I offer.
This
This
were
were kindness.
kindness.
This kindness will I show. Go with me to a notary, seal me there your single bond, and, in a merry sport, if you repay me not on such a day, in such a place, such sum or sums as are expressed in the condition, let the forfeit be nominated for an equal pound of your fair flesh, to be cut off and taken in what part of your body pleaseth me.
Contended faith. I'll seal to such a bond, and say there is much kindness in the Jew.
You shall not steal to such a bond for me. I'll rather dwell in my necessity.
Ah, but fear not, man, I will not forfeit it within these 2 months. That's a month before this bond expires. I do expect return of thrice, 3 times the value of this bond.
Oh, Father Abram, what these Christians are, whose own hard dealings teaches them suspect the thoughts of others. Pray you tell me this: if he should break his day, what should I gain by the exaction of the forfeiture? A pound of man's flesh taken from a man is not so estimable, profitable neither, as flesh of muttons, sheep, beefs, or goats. I say to buy his favor, I extend this friendship. If he will take it so, if not, adieu. And for my love, I pray you wrong me not.
Yes, Shylock, I will seal upon this bond.
Then meet me forthwith at the notary's, give him direction for this merry bond. And I will go and purse the ducat straight, see to my house left in the fearful guard of an unthrifty knave, and presently I'll be with you.
Hie thee, gentle Jew. This Hebrew will turn Christian, he grows kind.
I like not fair terms and a villain's mind.
Ah, come on. In this there can be no dismay. My ships come home a month before the day. But very interesting.
Mm.
Very interesting.
He thinks that Shylock and Antonio speak with forked tongues. They're
You
not
think-
saying what they really say. Sorry, Duncan. They don't like each other much, do they?
No, they hate each other, and that's why they're overplaying their hands. Both of them are overplaying their hands. There's lots of sin to go around in this one, and they're both acting in excess. If either one of them had kept their dealings within rational bounds, there would be no play.
Mm.
But
This is
there's
really-
also anti-Semitism here, isn't there?
I think it's a question that we have to address as we work our way through the play, Donna. I think you can argue the case on both sides.
I'm sure.
Yes. Definitely. I mean, certainly, as Duncan pointed out last session, Antonio does not come out of this particular scene looking very good. in terms of how he's treated Shylock in the past. I mean, it's one thing to take offense at charging interest on money, but it's another thing to be kicking people and spitting in their beards and so forth.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know,
Yes, that is a little much.
it is. And yeah, he's a different central character than, or one of the central characters than we see, for instance, in Hamlet.
Can I
And
just,
it's crazy as well to agree to let someone take a knife to your body.
Yeah.
He doesn't really think he's agreeing to that though. This is where the arrogance on Antonio's part comes in. He is totally confident that he will be repaying the money in plenty of time.
can I go back to close to the beginning of scene 3, about a half page down, where Shylock says, "Yes, to smell pork, to eat of the habitation which your prophet, the Nazarite, conjured the devil into." Is he speaking of Jesus there?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the incident of the, I hope I pronounce this correctly, the Gabardine swine.
What's gabardine? For me,
Okay,
it's a
no,
coat.
yeah,
The cloth.
it's where Jesus casts devils out of people and into a herd of swine which run over a cliff. And
Correct,
it
yeah.
was at a place. You know what? Keep talking. I'll
Oh,
find the name of the place. It's I
the
I remember
Gazazzer.
the story, yeah.
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 Okay, I'll get it. I'll get it.
But I suppose what I'm
Well,
coming to is what is he actually trying to say?
yes, to smell pork, to eat of the habitation which your prophet the Nazareth can conjure the devil into. Um, I
Because
think that
presumably
first
Shylock doesn't
empathy,
want to smell pork or eat it.
he's given the reason why he's not going to agree to eat with him.
Okay,
So he's saying, I will buy with you, I will sell with you, I'll talk with you, I will walk with you, and so follow. So I'll do all the business stuff, but I will not eat with you, drink with you, nor pray with you.
so he expects that if he does eat with Antonio, Antonio will serve him pork, which he cannot have as a Jew.
I think his attitude is that they're eating pork all the time. And he's basically saying, look, this is a business deal.
Yeah,
We're not friends. We're not going to be friends.
we're not socializing.
We're not socializing. I'm willing to do business with you because
Yeah.
that's my business. But I don't, I consider you to be treff, just like he's considered treffed by Antonio. Gathering swine, the pigs, and okay.
Yeah, I put it in the chat, and so yeah, I absolutely slaughtered the pronunciation of it. Gathering swine.
Well, that's why you said gabardine, and I thought
Gabardine. No, that's
what
I
is
think
the cloth
the thing that
gabardine?
isn't that what Antonio spit on?
I think that's a coat or a
Yeah, I
jacket.
think you're right.
It's a type
Yeah,
of cloth. It's a type of cloth.
I definitely messed that one up.
Hey, okay. So this is where things go awry. Okay, so Shylock says that to Bassanio, and then Antonio appears, and then Shylock talking to himself. There's no one else to talk to. Gives us his emotional attitude towards Antonio and why he doesn't like Antonio.
And then addresses Antonio directly.
And then addresses Antonio directly.
Rest you fair good, Signor. Your worship was the last man in our mouths. And again, it strikes me that he's being sarcastic or worship.
Well, this is the classic minority strategy, is to be overly fawning.
Yeah.
And then they get into it.
Yeah, and the rest of this scene is the two boys getting into it
Yeah.
and sort of at the end of it agreeing, well, let's do business. We don't have to like each other to do business.
Except the way they stir up emotions in each other makes their final business deal totally irrational
Hmm.
and bound to cause trouble.
Yes, he wants a return of price 3 times the value of this bond. That's a fairly heavy interest rate, isn't it? Price.
Again?
He says, I do expect a return of price 3 times the value of this bond. Unio says.
I hate to say it, Donna, but I cannot hear you clearly.
Sorry, let me speak up a little. Antonio says towards the end of the scene, uh, why not? Why fear not, man? I will not forfeit it. Within these 2 months, that's a month before this bond expires. I do expect return of thrice 3 times the value of this bond.
Yeah, I think that's when his ships come home. So I think he's getting that kind of a return on his investment on the ships.
Uh-huh.
But isn't he expecting the same, Dave, on the bond that he's going to sign with China?
Okay, I do expect. Right,
They're talking about the bond,
right,
which they will have to sign.
right.
It just strikes me as a pretty heavy interest rate, and maybe that's
No, no,
just
no,
good
no, no, no,
business
no,
on
no.
Schenkler's part.
That is not the interest rate.
Okay.
That is not the interest rate. That's all that Antonio is saying. When my ships come in, I will have more than 3 times enough money to pay for the loan.
I think that's right. But it's interesting, Donna. I'm very thankful that you raised that point because we start cutting what it was splitting hairs here. So Shylock is despised because he loans money out at interest, and yet
Yeah.
Antonio is investing his money and he's going to get 3 times the amount back on it because he's sent merchant ships out. I mean, and yeah, I just point. I was going to save this for later, but I would point out this is kind of difficult for 21st century people to read because we live in a capitalist society where the foundation of it is you go to the bank and you put money in the bank and you get interest paid on it, and if you borrow money from the bank, then you pay them interest back. And this house that you see me sitting in is only possible because we did not have the money when we first got married to buy this house, so we went to the bank, took out a mortgage, and paid interest. And I'm sure that everyone here, probably unless you were born rich, has taken out a loan at some time. And that's kind of the linchpin of our society. And yet it's highly questioned here.
But can I just follow that on, Dave? I accept Duncan's point that interest is not the bond. The bond is a contract essentially between two sides, right?
Mhm.
So, if you like, to fulfill this loan, a bond must be signed by both parties, presumably, and that's a guarantee that this money will be repaid.
Right.
I presume the interest then to be paid on that loan is a separate matter.
What?
Yes, that's a separate matter. Yes, the bond is the pound of flesh.
Yeah.
In this case, the bond is the pound of flesh. It's the collateral, to use a more common modern term. It's the collateral that the customer is offering the bank,
Yeah, the guarantee.
the guarantee. Yes.
Okay.
And to me, one, Shylock is allowing his hatred of Antonio to override his good business sense.
Correct.
Because no businessman is going to want the collateral of a pound of flesh. That's just nonsense. That's just showing deep hatred and anger and frustration. It's not business. Okay. And on the other hand, you've got Antonio and his utter arrogance, totally convinced that he will get the money in plenty of time, and he doesn't have to worry about making a stupid deal like promising to give Shylock a pound of his flesh if he can't pay it in a timely manner. So they're
Okay.
both being idiots.
And I'm sure as we go on, all this will be revealed.
Yeah, it's just and let me give Shakespeare a little bit of due. I think this is very clever of Shakespeare to point out the idiocy of this kind of religious bias or racial tension, that the idiocy of holding these abhorrent ideas is you will overstep the bounds.
Right. It would be uncollectible today too. I mean, obviously, like we often sign waivers if we're doing activities, right? My brother's a lawyer, and he just said there are some things you cannot sign away by law. I mean, and so obviously this would be quite uncollectible today, but just generally speaking, there are some things you can't sign away. Like I don't think you can sell yourself into slavery, for instance. You know, to take examples, but I don't know how this. I guess it's Coleridge's willing suspension of disbelief, right? I guess you know we believe that the contract is enforceable, but I don't know if it would have been even then enforceable. It's also because the whole
We do,
business.
we do know that at an earlier time, though, that you could post a bond of your daughter
Correct. That's right. Or yourself.
or your son. You could sell your children
Right.
into bondage.
Right.
You could probably, bargain with your wife as one of the chips.
Sure. Or I
Whether
think yourself as well. Indentured servitude, right?
Yeah, America was built on indentured
Yes,
servants and slaves.
that's right.
So, we're not, and there is a kind of servitude that goes on now. We don't want to recognize it as such, but let's just take student loans, where we legally allow adults to trap children, 18-year-olds, into a contract which they can never get out of. There is no bankruptcy for a student loan debt. And we end up, I know one woman who she was, I believe, 65 years old, and she retired and she was still paying off her student loans.
Wow.
Wow.
And if that's not servitude, I don't know what the hell is. But we cover it, and we thought, well, they should know. 18-year-olds should know what they're getting into. So anyway, that's my jaundiced attitude.
Right. I think the other issue here, a tangential issue from your tangent is Antonio apparently does not charge interest when he loans people money, and that's why Shylock doesn't like him. So, is he doing this out of the goodness of his heart, or are there other considerations? And I ask this because my brother is Muslim. They can't charge or pay interest, but they can still buy houses. And so in Canada, the Muslim community has set up ways that young Muslims can get houses and get money to purchase the houses, but it's not officially interest. And there are some workarounds. And I'm wondering,
Yeah.
it's just a question the play raises for me. Is Antonio just, showing up and loaning people money and no problem, pay me only back? Or is there something else at work?
He is actually he is actually benefiting from what the Japanese call giri.
Okay.
And giri is when you do someone a favor, ostensibly not expecting anything in return. But in reality, if one Japanese gives another Japanese giri, the Japanese who receives it drives themselves absolutely crazy, making sure that they repay that favor with interest, although they'll never call it interest. So, for example, if I know that you like a particular something, let's say Dave Little, that I know that you're a big Shakespeare fan, and I'm a rich guy, and I want to indebt you to me.
Right.
So I go out and I buy a first folio of one of Shakespeare's plays, and I gift it to you. Okay? Now, we never talk about interest. There's never any discussion about that. But I know you're indebted to me for the rest of your life. And if I have something that needs to be done, I can just kind of tangentially mention the folio and then mention something that I need done. And if it's within your power, chances are that you will definitely do it.
It makes me think all roads lead to the Godfather. It makes me think of Don Corleone.
Exactly.
The guy who came to him at his daughter's wedding and said, Don Corleone, these people abused my daughter. Can you help me out? And no, there was no charge. It was a favor. It was his daughter's wedding. But when Sonny gets shot up at the toll booth, he goes back to this guy who happens to, I think, be a funeral guy or an undertaker, and kind of calls in the favor and said, "Look after my Sonny's body." Right? Same
But
deal.
he lets him know at that moment when he's doing the favor. He says, "Someday, and that day may never come.
Right.
I may call upon you."
I may call upon you to do me a favor.
That's right. and then when they meet at the funeral home, Sonny's body is there. He says, "I want you to do everything in your power to make him beautiful. His mother has to look at him."
Yeah.
And I will have to say, in truthfulness, not at the Godfather level of things, but I like that system. I like the system where favors done are not worked out in details and with numbers, but more with just an understanding.
Right.
I like
But
it.
does Dave in this situation, Duncan, know that he's indebted to you for the folio? Have you not just given him a gift? And he said,
No, he
"Thanks
knows.
very much, Duncan. You're a nice guy."
He knows he's indebted to me.
Exactly. We're working on the
He
principle.
knows that on anybody, if I ask him some small favor later on, and he said, "Oh, really, I can't do that," blah blah blah. He'll feel bad. Anybody who knows about that I gave a folio 20 years before will look at him as an ingrate. You know, it's actually not a bad system unless it's abused. And this is of course the whole problem with usury. It's not the usury itself, it's the abuse. So, for example, here I'll be political again. The financialization of the United States, where actually the biggest power people now are banks and financial people. The problem is they are really abusing. They are really abusing their power, big time. And to give you an example, when the housing market went down in 2008, what actually happened was that the people with the money came in, took all the houses, and the government cooperated big time with this, giving big money people thousands of houses for cheap. And then they would turn around and go to the people who previously owned the house and kick them out, and then offer to lease them the houses for much more than their original situation, and they would never get ownership. Right. That's a straight up abuse of financial power. Same thing happened in the retirement market. Many of the corporations, they would declare bankruptcy, and then they would go to the judges, and they knew who the judges were, and particular judges that they would go to, and they would declare their bankruptcy, and then they would say, we cannot honor our commitment to retirement policies. That needs to be junked because we can't do it. What they were really doing is they were taking the retirement money and dividing it up between the owners and the managers.
Yep.
Okay. So once again, it's not the financialization itself. It's when the government and the financial people become absurdly abusive.
Is it not illegal to do that now in the United States? Or I don't know if it's illegal here, Jim.
No,
I don't
it's
think
not
you
illegal.
can get away with that here.
Okay, well, you can get away with it in the United States. It's happened over and over and over again.
Well, that's a huge abuse.
Yeah, no, it's absurd. It's absurd. Anyway, I won't rant on too much more about that. But the only reason I bring it up is this is kind of the pound of flesh thing. Only in this case, there's no Portia. There will be no Portia to argue that the student was too young and you shouldn't, make them work so much of their working life to pay back a student loan that they agreed to when they were 18 or 19 years old. Or that, that a person who's worked 20, 30 years for a company and paid into a retirement fund should not have that retirement fund taken away from them. So, okay, rant over, I think.
Good.
Hopefully.
On the
very, very interesting, Duncan. Yeah.
Thanks, Jim. Go ahead, Jim. Go ahead.
No, I'm just going to say very interesting, Duncan, that you're taking on. You're quite right. Yeah, absolutely.
Which leads us to the reference to Jacob. So where Jacob is dealing with his father-in-law Laban, and they're as we would say in Saskatchewan, they're both as crooked as a dog's hind leg. And to introduce or to incorporate Jacob into the brew here, where you've got Antonio dealing with Shylock, and that's background is interesting, because Jacob was a cheat from the get-go, and his father-in-law was too, and it's just interesting he's here. Jacob uh, uh, took his brother's birthright. Then he cheated his father out of the blessing.
Mhm.
Then he went and had to deal with Laban, who promised him Rachel after 7 years' work. And then and when Jacob went to collect, he was told, "Well, a little bit of a complication here. Leah, the firstborn, has to be married first, so you're getting her for your 7 years' work. You're going to have to work another 7 for Rachel." And then we get this business, which no scientist would endorse, where Jacob strips these branches to get the right combination, or to get the right kind of sheep and goats born, so that he can cheat Laban.
Right. So he gets them instead of Laban.
He
Yes.
does. I mean, yeah. And so it's just like a crooked world that Jacob inhabits, and he's a big part of it. And it's
Dave, what did you say? What did you say Jacob done?
oh yes, sorry, Jim. It's referred to here. What he did was he made a deal with his crooked father-in-law that,
Mm-hmm.
like, I've worked for you, so I need to get something out of this. And the deal was that any sheep which were born spotted or speckled or so forth went to Jacob. So at breeding time, what he did was he peeled these branches and held them up to the breeding sheep, and that was supposed to mean you're going to get a disproportionate number of spotted or speckled offspring.
Oh, I
Yes.
see.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Is
and
this a
so
Bible story, Dave?
sorry,
Sorry, is this a Bible story?
it is.
Oh,
Okay.
yes.
It
Yes.
is. Yeah.
Yes. And right. Yeah,
So
and a very important one also.
right. Although Donna, I have to confess to you, instead of rereading the King Jimmy version of the Bible, I looked at Wikipedia this morning. but it is biblical. Yeah, I promise you, it's biblical.
It's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay. I have never come across the story before.
Okay.
It's very, yeah. I recommend to everybody that if you get a chance, start reading. There's a lot of stuff in
But there sure is, yeah.
it.
But
There's a lot of stuff in there. And then remember, this is the same Jacob that cheated his brother
and
Esau.
was this Jacob the guy that was going to be sacrificed by his father?
No, that was
Oh,
Jacob's
no.
dad, Isaac.
Okay,
Yeah, Abraham and Isaac is who you're
Abraham and Isaac. Gotcha. Yeah,
right.
I have the storyline right now.
Yeah. And what was I going to say? Oh, but notice the implication of Shakespeare wrote for the common people, so they must know this story.
Mm. Oh yeah,
This must have been a commonly known story in order for him to bring it up, put it in the middle of this play.
they didn't have Wikipedia, but they had their St. James Bible to read, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I would assume that they would have talked about lots of stuff that's in. There's so much interesting stuff in the Bible.
Mm.
I mean, a lot of it's pretty appalling, to tell you the truth. But there's a lot of interesting stuff. Well worth reading and thinking about.
Well, I've actually read it a few times. I do like the Song of Songs.
Oh yes.
You don't have any of this stuff in it.
Well, the joke in Texas, in the state just north of us, Oklahoma, uh, the superintendent of schools is a Christian, and he is demanding that the schools teach the Bible, that the school curriculum be based upon the Bible. So immediately, the joke became that one of the first things they should teach is about the incest between Lot's daughters and Lot. That after they leave Sodom and Gomorrah and Lot's wife turns into a pillar of salt, uh, Lot is out in the desert with his 2 daughters. And they're saying, you know what, if we don't do something, this is the end of our family. So the girls make a plot and they say, hey, let's get the old man drunk. And then you go in and have sex with him. to get pregnant so we can, have a child to carry on. And then the next night we'll do it again, and the other daughter will go in and have sex. So anyway, the joke was that in order to insert the Bible into the school curriculum, we should pick a lot of stories like that.
Donna, if you check the chat, I copied and pasted the section from the Bible, which deals with Jacob and the thing. I'm not sure what translation of the Bible is from. I just went to the other room and got my King Jimmy, and that's essentially what the King James says too.
Okay, thanks for the reference, Dave. I'm sure whatever version the references will be the same.
Right. Yeah. Like I'm saying, I'm not sure to be wholeheartedly endorsed by modern day geneticists, but there it is in the Bible. Yeah, good.
Yes, I think we've strayed a long way from our subject at this stage.
Yeah, we have. And I suppose as we reconcentrate our energies, it is interesting to note what strange byways good writings can take you on, right?
Absolutely. It's what we used to say about
the rabbit holes are great.
Going down rabbit holes.
Yeah, right.
In my warped mind, all of the rabbit holes are connected.
Yep, they are. Everything's connected. So
but they're all underground, though, Duncan.
Yeah. So we've got Act 2, Scene 1. We've got Morocco and Portia. Donna, would you do Morocco? And
Sure.
I think by process of elimination, Katrina, you would do Portia.
Certainly.
Right, and that's it. That's just those two people for that.
Who's Narissa? Who's Narissa?
Oh, is Narissa there too? My gosh.
Yeah, well, I think so.
Morocco. She doesn't speak in the scene, though.
She doesn't say anything.
She is present but silent.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, Act 2, Scene 1, Belmont. A room in Portia's house, flourish of cornets, enter the Prince of Morocco and his train, Portia, Nerissa, and others attending. Mislike me not for my complexion, the shadowed livery of the burnished sun, to whom I am a neighbour and near bred, bring me the fairest creature northward born, where Phoebus's fire scarce thaws the icicles. And let us make incision for your love, to prove whose blood is reddest, his or mine. Tell thee, lady, this aspect of mine hath feared the valiant. By my love, I swear, the best regarded virgins of our clime hath loved it too. I would not change this hue, except to steal your thoughts, my gentle queen.
In terms of choice, I am not solely led by nice direction of a maiden's eyes. Besides, the lottery of my destiny bars me the right of voluntary choosing. But if my father had not scanted me and hedged me by his wit, to yield myself his wife, who wins me by that means I told you yourself, renowned prince, then stood as fair as any comer I'd have looked on yet for my affection.
Even for that I thank you. Therefore I pray you, lead me to the caskets to try my fortune. By the scimitar that slew the Sophie and a Persian prince, that won 3 fields of Sultan Soliman, I would outstare the sternest eyes that look, outbrave the heart most daring on the earth, pluck the young suckling cubs from the she-bear, yea, mock the lion when he roars for prey, to win thee, lady. But alas the while, if Hercules and Lycas play at dice, which is the better man? The greater throw may turn by fortune from the weaker hand. So is Alcides beaten by his page, and so may I, blind fortune leading me, miss that which one unworthier may attain, and die with grieving.
You must take your chance and either not attempt to choose at all or swear before you choose. If you choose wrong, never speak to lady afterward in way of marriage. Therefore be advised.
Nor would not. Come, bring me unto my chance.
First, forward to the temple. After dinner, your hazard shall be made.
Good fortune, then, to make me blessed or cursed among men. Cornets and Exeunt.
Hmm. Do we actually know what this thing is that Portia's father cooked up for selecting her husband?
This is the caskets, Duncan, is it?
Oh.
Yeah,
Didn't we touch on that
we
previously?
did touch on it last time,
Yeah,
but
there was gold
you know,
and silver and lead, I think. Wasn't that right? And the competition was to select one.
That's right.
okay, so it's not really a competition because one person at a time goes in, and I guess it's the first person who picks the gold casket wins Portia's hand.
I don't think it's clear at this stage, is it?
Yes, I think it's left ambiguous. I mean, if you've read the play, you know the situation, but that's a spoiler alert, and I won't say. But okay,
Is it as simple as that, though, Dave?
it is pretty straightforward. Okay, so do we know about the caskets even? Those who've come to the play for the first time, or is it just because some of us have read it and we started talking about them? I'm just looking through the scene, act 1, scene 2, and I don't know if we have.
I just feel we had a lot of knowledge about caskets last time, so
Good.
coming to it for the first time, I must have seen it here.
Okay. Yes. Okay, here we are. I'm in Act 1, Scene 2. I'm about line 27. Nerissa says, your father was ever virtuous, and holy men at their death have good inspirations. Therefore the lottery that he hath divide in these 3 chests of gold, silver, and lead, whereof who chooses his meaning chooses you.
Chooses his meaning.
Chooses his meaning. I mean, I think the antecedent of that pronoun his was your dad. Whoever chooses your dad's meaning, maybe, or his own meaning, chooses you.
What is the meaning?
Never
What
be
is his
chosen
meaning?
by any rightly, but one who you shall rightly love.
Sorry, Dave. Whose meaning? Like, what is the meaning? If it's the father's meaning, what does he mean?
To choose the right casket. If you choose the
Okay.
correct casket, and okay, I don't want to reveal too much, but as we go on, we see people are giving their choices for choosing which casket they choose.
Okay.
And the guy who chooses the right casket sort of has the right reason for choosing it, if I could put it that way.
Okay. But how do we know what the right casket is?
No,
We don't. Okay.
don't till it's chosen. I don't think. We sure don't at this point in here. No.
I would imagine if you chose lead, that would be the wrong answer, wouldn't it?
I cannot say.
Okay, I understand.
We will keep that in mind.
That's fine.
But what we do know from the scene that was just which was just read out, is if you make the wrong choice, kiss goodbye to getting married.
Yes.
So it's pretty high stakes.
Okay.
But you kiss goodbye to getting married to Portia, right?
Oh, never to speak to lady afterward in way of marriage. Therefore, be advised.
This is if you lose, you lose it all.
You're living the life of a celibate monk, I suppose.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This is again another crazy bit.
Well, that's a good point. No, actually, that's really a good point. I mean, I never thought about that. So we've just dealt with the pound of flesh, and now we're make a bad choice. You're done matrimonial wise. That's very good. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Well, though, how does a dead father enforce?
Correct. Correct. That's a good point.
Maybe it's an honor system. I don't know.
An honor system.
An honor system quickly dishonored, right, Jim?
Yeah.
But Portia knows who the winner is going to be. In other words, she knows what her father's wishes are. I presume.
Does she? Okay.
Well, I guess we'll find out.
She's going to
Let me
have to select. Sorry, Duncan. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if one of the guys selects the right casket, that's it. He wins, right?
Okay.
I mean,
But
I'm
then
asking.
does she have to comply with that selection? In other words, she doesn't seem to be having any choice in this.
Yeah.
Yes, as we know, there are a number of suitors, including Bassanio, whom she thinks well of.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Who she hopes will win.
Does she go that far?
I don't know. Maybe she'll slip in the right answer.
I think, Dave, I'm pressing you too hard and revealing all. So
No, it's good. I'm back. I'm back in that scene between Nerissa and Portia because you're actually pressing me in a good way. Because the problem is, you know, the play, you don't know when the details emerge.
Okay.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Well, I find the Prince of Morocco's speech, the first speech that he gives, quite interesting, particularly in light of it following the scene between Antonio and Shylock. Because really the Prince of Morocco is presenting a cogent argument against racism.
Which is a key part of this play, right?
Yeah.
Which is a key part of, yes, discrimination, religious or complexion.
Dislike me not for my complexion.
Right.
And I like this is getting also very close to Jacob's trick, where the Prince of Morocco is basically saying the reason why I'm dark skinned is because I'm from a land of sunshine. And he makes a very modern argument. Cut me and look at my blood. It will be red, just like yours.
Yeah.
And unlike the last scene where we have Antonio kicking and spitting on the member of the minority group, we have Portia saying, what was it Bobby Burns said? The man's the man for all that, right? And so it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter what color your skin is. I'll take you. I will look upon you with affection.
Your self-renowned prince then stood as fair as any comer I have looked on yet for my affection.
Right. Back to another loose end that you were asking me about. In Act 1, Scene 2, Portia said, you'd asked if Portia could simply ignore the caskets, and she says, if I live to be as old as Sibylla, I will die as chaste as Diana, unless I be obtained by the manner of my father's will.
Hmm.
So, there it is.
Can we consider the father's will, which is that she has to marry whoever chooses the right casket, to be at the same level of absurdity as Shylock's demand for a pound of flesh?
I think this is what Jim was saying. Yes.
And is not the father, in a sense, being just as rash?
So maybe,
Mhm.
but if he
Maybe.
knows his daughter and he sets it up just right, she's going to get the right person.
Aha. There's a clue.
Oh, sorry, sorry,
There's a clue.
you're dragging it out of me, you guys.
This draws a
Keep the pressure
parallel
on, folks.
this draws a parallel for me with the book I'm reading at the moment, which is The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins, if any of you have read that.
Yep.
And again, this is the story of a girl who has agreed with her father to marry his selection, if you like. And then the father dies, but she feels committed to carry out his wishes, even though she doesn't love the prospect. So I just wonder how Portia fits into all of this.
Yeah.
But I wait to have it all revealed.
Mhm.
We shall find out.
Just as a footnote to a footnote, Donna, I've read The Moonstone, but not Woman in White. Is it worth reading?
It's definitely worth reading.
Yes.
What put me onto it was that BBC has run it as a series in recent weeks over 5 parts.
Okay.
And suddenly it dawned on me, I think I have that book somewhere.
Mhm.
Sure enough, I had. So I stopped after the 3rd episode and I asked my wife if she would bear with me because she was watching it as well. And I started reading the book, which is obviously written in a sort of a grandiose fashion, but the story is told by the characters in the book, unlike the series where it's obviously action.
Right.
But definitely worth a read. And I'll
Yes.
ask you the same question about the Moonstone. Is that worth a read?
I read it, I'm sure, about 40 years ago, and I would say so I can give you like some sketchy details, but I do recall that it was worth the read. Yeah.
Okay, I take it at that. Yeah.
Although my bias, we're way off topic, but my bias as a Victorian reader is George Eliot. I just absolutely worship at her feet. Yeah, but
Well, reading up a little background, and I don't want to stray too far off the subject, but our friend Mr. Wikipedia says that Wilkie Collins was, if you like, the first writer of detective novels.
yes, and you'll find that in the Moonstone, definitely.
Okay, well, that's good enough for me. Sorry, guys. Back to the station.
Mhm.
The problem is the 5 of us have all taken this like deep dive into literature, and
Absolutely, it's wonderful.
it's a wonderful
It's
thing.
great. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Should we move on to scene 2?
We should, and it's a long one.
Yeah.
It's a hugely long one. Okay, so
It'll probably bring us to the end of our session.
it will, yeah. So we'll probably have to revisit. Okay, so
Well, definitely so. We've only got 15 more minutes.
so there's
Yeah.
Lancelot Gobble, and then there's Old Gobble, and
Bassanio.
then Bassanio comes in, and I think that carries it.
I think that's it, is it?
Yeah.
Well, Gratiano comes in
Okay.
right near the end. Okay, so
Oh, yeah.
I think we should let
And then,
Jim get
well, there
it
are
on
5
top
parts.
of
We just need to bid for them.
Yeah.
But Jim hasn't read really, apart from 1 or 2 lines. So I vote that Jim starts with Lancelot.
Okay, sounds good. Jim, are you good with
Okay.
that? Okay, and
Absolutely.
I'll play his father. I'll be Old Gobble.
Okay.
And so then it's a Bassanio. We need a Bassanio.
I'll take Bassanio if that's okay.
Okay,
It's just
and then
father.
it's Gratiano. Could you do that, Katrina? And
Sure. Yeah.
and Leonardo, can you do that then, Duncan?
Yes, if we get there.
If we get there, that's right. Yeah, we got it. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so let's launch off with Lancelot.
Venice Street.
Certainly. Okay. Certainly my conscience will serve me to run from this Jew, my master. The fiend is at mine elbow and tempts me, saying to me, Gobbo, Lancelot, Gobbo, good Lancelot, or good Gobbo, or good Lancelot, Gobbo, use your legs, take the start, run away. My conscience says, no, take heed, honest Lancelot, take heed, honest Gobbo, or as for aforesaid, honest Launcelot Gabbo, do not run, scorn running with my heels. Well, the most courageous fiend bids me pack. Pho, said the friend. Away, says the fiend. For the heavens rose up a brave mind, says the fiend, and run. Well, my conscience hanging about the neck of my heart says very wisely to me, my honest friend Launcelot, being an honest man's son, or rather an honest woman's son, for indeed my father did something smack, something grow to, he had a kind of taste. Well, my conscience says, Launcelot, budge not. Budge, says the fiend. Budge not, says my conscience. Conscience, says I, you counsel well. Fiend, say I, you counsel well. To be ruled by my conscience, I shall stay with the Jew, my master, who, God bless the mark, is a kind of devil. And to run away from the Jew, I should be ruled by the fiend, who, saving your reverence, is the devil himself. Certainly the Jew is the very devil incarnate, and in my conscience is but a kind of hard conscience, to offer to counsel me to stay with the Jew. The fiend gives more friendly counsel. I will run, fiend. My heels are at your command. I will run.
Enrolled Gobbo with the basket. Master, young man, I pray you, which is the way to Master Jews?
Oh, heavens, this is my true begotten father, who is being more than stand blind, high gravel blind, knows me not. I will try confusion with him.
Master, young gentleman, I pray you, which is the way to Master Jews?
Turn up on your right hand at the next turning, but at the next turning of all your left, marry at the very next turning, turn of no hand, but turn down indirectly to the Jew's house.
God Santis, will be a hard way to hit. Can you tell me whether one Lancelot that dwell with him, or no?
Talk you of young man's Master Launcelot. Mark me now. Now I will raise the waters. Talk you of young Master Launcelot.
No master, sir, but a poor man's son. His father, though I say it, is an honest, exceeding poor man, and, God be thanks, well to live.
Well, let his father be what a will. We talk of young Master Launcelot.
Your worship's friend, and Lancelot, sir.
But I pray you, ergo, old man, ergo, I beseech you, talk you of young Master Launcelot.
Lancelot, an it please your mastership.
Ergo, Master Launcelot, talk not of Master Launcelot, father, for the young gentleman, according to fates and destinies, and such odd sayings, the sisters three and such branches of learning, is indeed deceased, or, as you would say in plain terms, gone to heaven.
Harry, God forbid. The boy was the very staff of my age, my very prop.
Do I look like a cudgel or a hovel post, a staff or prop? Do you know me, father?
Alack the day, I know you not, young gentleman, but I pray you tell me, is my boy, God rest his soul, alive or dead?
Do you not know me, father?
Alack, sir, I'm sand blind. I know you not.
Nay, indeed, if you had your eyes, you might fail of the knowing me. It is a wise father who knows his own child. Well, old man, I will tell you news of your son. Give me your blessing. Truth will come to light. Murder cannot be hid long. A man's son may, but at the length truth will out.
Pray you, sir, stand up. I am sure you are not Lancelot, my boy.
Pray you, let's have no more fooling about it. but give me your blessing. I am Lancelot, your boy that was, your son that is, your child that shall be.
I do not think you are my son.
I know not what else, I know not what I shall think of that, but I am Lancelot, the Jew's man, and I am sure Marjorie, your wife, is my mother.
Her name is Marjorie indeed. I'll be sworn if thou be Lancelot, thou art my own flesh and blood. Lord worshipped mighty be, what a beard hast thou got? Thou'st got more hair on thy chin than Dobbin, my fill horse, has on his tail.
It should seem then that Dobbin's tail grows backwards. I am sure he had no more hair of his tail than I have of my face when I last saw him.
Lord, how thou art changed. How dost thou and thy master agree? I have brought him a present. How agree you now?
Well, well, but for mine own part, as I have set up my nest to run away, so I will not rest till I have run some ground. My master's a very Jew. Give him a present, give him a halter. I am famished in his service. You may tell every finger I have with my ribs. Father, I am glad you come. Give me your present to one Master Bassanio, who indeed gives rare new liveries. If I serve not him, I will run as far as God has any ground. O rare fortune, here comes the man. To him, Father, for I am a Jew if I serve the Jew any longer.
Enter Bassanio with Leonardo and other followers. You may do so, but let it be so hasted that supper be ready at the farthest by 5 o'clock. See these letters delivered, put the liveries to making, and desire Graziano to come anon to my lodging. Exit.
To him, Father.
God bless your worship.
Gramercy, wouldst thou aught with me?
Here's my son, sir, a poor boy.
Not a poor boy, sir, but the rich Jew's man that would serve, as my father shall specify.
He hath a great infection, sir, as one would say, to serve.
Indeed, the short and the long is, I serve the Jew, and have a desire as my father shall specify.
His master and he, saving your worship's reverence, are scarce cater cousins.
To be brief, the very truth is that the Jew, having done me wrong, doth cause me, as my father being, I hope, an old man, shall fruity unto you.
I have here a dish of doves that I would bestow upon your worship, and my suit is...
In very brief, the suit is impertinent to myself, as your worship shall know by this honest old man, and though I say it, though old man yet, poor man, my father.
One speak for both. What would you?
Serve you, sir.
That is the very defect of the matter, sir.
I know thee well, thou hast obtained thy suit. Shylock thy master spoke with me this day, and had preferred thee, if it be preferment, to leave a rich Jew's service, to become the follower of so poor a gentleman.
The old proverb is very well parted between my master Shylock and you, sir. You have the grace of God, sir, and he hath enough.
Thou speakest it well. Go, father, with thy son, take leave of thy old master, and inquire my lodging out. Give him a livery, more guarded than his fellows. See it done.
Father in, I cannot get a service, no. I have ne'er a tongue in my head. Well, if any man in Italy have a fairer table, which doth offer to swear upon a book, I shall have good fortune. Go to hear the simple line of life. Here's a small trifle of wives. Alas, 15 wives is nothing. 11 widows and 9 maids is a simple coming in for one man, and then to scap drowning thrice, and to be in peril of my life with the edge of a feather bed. Here are simple scaps. Well, if fortune be a woman, she's good wench for this gear. Father, come, I'll take my leave of the Jew in the twinkling.
Exeunt Lancelot and old Gobbo. I pray thee, good Leonardo, think on this. These things being bought and orderly bestowed, return in haste. For I do feast tonight, my best esteemed acquaintance. Hie thee, go.
My best endeavors shall be done herein.
Enter Graziano.
Where is your master?
Yonder, sir, he walks.
Exit.
Signor Bassanio,
Graziano,
I have a suit to you.
you have obtained it.
You must not deny me. I must go with you to Belmont.
Why then you must. But hear thee, Graziano. Thou art too wild, too rude, and bold of voice, parts that become thee happily enough, and in such eyes as ours appear not false. But where thou art not known, why there they show something too liberal. Pray thee, take pain to allay with some cold drops of modesty thy skipping spirit, lest through my wild behavior I be misconstrued in the place I go to, and lose my hopes.
Signor Bassanio, me, if I do not put on a sober habit, talk with respect and swear, but now and then wear prayer books in my pocket, look demurely, nay more, while Grace is saying, hood mine eyes thus with my hat, and sigh and say amen. Use all the observance of civility like one well studied in a sad ostent, to please his grandam. Never trust me more.
Well, we should see your bearing.
Nay, but I bar tonight. You shall not gauge me by what we do tonight.
No, that were pity. I would entreat you rather to put on your boldest suit of mirth, for we have friends that purpose merriment. But fare you well, I have some business.
And I must go to Lorenzo and the rest, but we will visit you at supper time.
Exeunt.
Good.
I think that's going to call for another reading somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it is, but it's pretty much a comic relief section.
Yeah, exactly. And this is classic Shakespeare, really, isn't it? That he puts in comic relief. No matter what the play is, he'll throw in some comic relief. There's always a character such as a fool or a clown, as in this case.
Mhm.
it's to get people to laugh and prevent
Yep.
them from giggling and tittering nervously at the wrong times.
Correct.
That's what I was told anyway.
Yeah,
It's-
Well,
I think
we had two very heavy sections.
We did.
We had the section between, of course, Antonio and Shylock. And then we had the heavy section between the Prince of Morocco and Portia.
Yeah.
Which were dealing really underneath, they were dealing with pretty heavy issues. And this is like literally comic relief to kind of
Yeah.
lighten everything up. Okay.
It's interesting in view of the discussion of Jacob or the allusion to Jacob, and I guess discussion in the last scene, that Lancelot asked his father twice to give me your blessing. Give me your blessing.
Oh, you're right. Good point.
isn't the
Good point.
use of Lancelot as the name for the character rather unusual, because you immediately think of one of the knights of the Round Table.
Mhm.
And I'm sure Shakespeare intends this purposely.
Yeah, right. Quite ironically.
Yeah.
That's a good.
Whereas
Right. Lancelot was the unfaithful servant, right? Unfaithful knight
yes.
who stole Guinevere from the king.
Yeah.
Was it from the king?
Arthur.
King
Yeah.
Arthur. King
Okay.
Arthur. Yeah, it's a Tristan and Isolde type story.
Yeah.
Except that, Guinevere was already betrothed to King Arthur when Lancelot, she began her affair. Well, that's great, and we hit it exactly right. It is within seconds to the for the 90 minutes is now.
The witching hour.
So who's bidding us adieu then, Duncan? Is it you or Katrina?
Katrina actually is the host,
Hey,
Mhm.
so
Has the power.
he has the power.
if she clicks the end button on her screen, she should be given a choice: end
Live
meeting
long and
for
prosper.
all,